We're actually live. What is that? We're actually live. How about that? We just went straight live. Let me wipe off this lens right here so we can maybe that'll clear things up a little bit. Hello, guys. What is up? Hey, so guess what? The dog just decided that right when I was gonna start this, she wanted to get out of the room. So look, y'all thought it was just clean behind me. Nope. There's a mess. Okay, go. Bye. I mean, no respect for the live stream. No respect. Come on, Adabelle. Hey, y'all. What is up? Okay, here we go. I swear if it's not one thing, it's another. I'm like, I finally got it to load. And then the dog starts banging on the door to get out. Life. Saw my Insta story. I hadn't brushed my hair. I did brush my hair. And then I was like pulling my hair out for the thumbnail of this video because I was like, I'm going to be on time tonight. And I had it set and I was like, let me push live. And I had everything ready to go. And then I pushed live and then it just Chrome froze. Like it started the little like wheel of magical colors was spinning. But we're good now. We're live and everything is fine. And we can all just be happy that we're here. So I'm so glad that y'all are all here with me tonight on this fabulous Tuesday. Oh my gosh. What even day is it? What even day is it? I don't even know. Sunday, this fabulous Sunday night. If it's Tuesday for y'all, I'm sorry. Maybe you're watching this later and good. Leave a comment below if you're watching this on a Tuesday. But it is currently Sunday. It is Sunday night. It's a Sunday night live stream where we are going to talk about some things. And I'm going to try not to get distracted reading the chat. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself because goodness, drama. Anyways, so if y'all saw my Insta stories, also, I made a story and I was saying how if you didn't watch Thursday's video, you would have had time to watch it before I went live. And I talked a little bit about some parenting stuff in there and I told y'all to ask some questions. So while we're like getting this live stream going, if y'all have any questions specifically related to that stuff, related to like parenting, related to the boundaries, limits, all the things that we've been talking about here, go to my Insta stories and use a little box and you can leave a comment. I mean, obviously there's a chat here, but I get really distracted by these and I'm going to try not to just like keep looking at them and reading them. But I do hope y'all are having a great Sunday night. I always like to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing over the weekend because we don't always upload a vlog the day after things happen. So what have we done this weekend? We had a really great date night on Friday night. And if y'all saw my Instagram picture, you saw that we went to dinner and had a really delicious dinner. It was absolutely the most fabulous food that I've had in the longest time. And my dinner was like some kind of, I never pronounce it right, Asiago, whatever it is, the cheese crusted grouper, I think. And it had like a side of Swiss chard. And so I felt like I was fancy and doing something healthy, I guess, because I don't usually eat that kind of stuff. And then spaghetti squash. So it didn't even have pasta with it. And I'm like, pasta maniac. And then we had, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm not even going to tell y'all. Basically the board with the cheese and the meats, it's spelled like CHARCUTERIE or whatever. If anybody wants to give me the pronunciation in the chat, go ahead and do that because I'm not even going to try to say it because y'all will laugh at me. So, hey, Ashley Wilson, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for watching. Love you and your family. I love you and your family too. How about that? But anyways, okay, we did that on Friday night and then we sat there and just like we're having a good old time talking to each other. And then a lot of times we'll like go out somewhere else afterwards or we've gone to a movie before, done whatever else. And we were just like, so we could go somewhere and like spend some more money. And I was like, kind of like go somewhere where there's a couch and a fire. And then we were like, do we want to go somewhere to spend more money and sit on somebody else's couch and a fire or don't sit on the fire though. I'm really tired tonight. I'm really tired in case y'all can't tell. Or do we just want to go home? And then we debated for like 30 minutes and then we just went home and we had a babysitter and we kept talking about it the whole way home, whether we were going to go home or not. And so finally I texted her like 5 or 10 minutes before we got home. I was like, hey, we're actually just coming home like 2, 3 hours earlier than we usually do. She was like, okay, that's fine. So yeah, we were old people and came home, and it was actually really nice. It was very great. Just like chill, nice restaurant. And then we just came home and fed the fish kind of day and night. Because feeding the fish is an event. Cullen should like live stream that sometimes because it's really cool and they like jump out of the tank almost. What do we do Saturday? We had a family fun day. We took the kids somewhere. Y'all, do y'all have problems remembering what you did yesterday? Because I do. Where did we go? Oh, we went to the park. If you're on my Insta stories, you would have seen me doing that too. Am I Sandra's daughter? No. Mm-mm. You would have seen me going to the park, us going to the park, and we had a really fun time. So there we go. That was yesterday. Today we went to church this morning. We kept the nursery, and then Cullen and Brittany filmed some "Don't Tell Mom" like on set, on scene. What's it called, like on location stuff, and asking people some questions. So I'll have to check that out. I don't know what all they talked about, but it sounded like they had a good time. Anyways, the kids are in bed now, and I'm gonna try to do this live stream without like saying too many random things that don't make sense, like I already have. What is up, Tanya, Elliot, Tanya, maybe Tanya. Hello from Lubbock, Texas. What is the hardest part of being a parent of two while still making time for yourself? Does YouTube make it easier? Love y'all so much. Man, that is a loaded question. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. The hardest part of being a parent of two, I would say, is that, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that going from 1 to 2 wasn't as hard for them as it was going from 2 to 3. And going from 1 to 2 was really hard for us. So I don't know that we even want to take the little chance of going from 2 to 3 being harder. But I think initially the hardest part for us was that when we just had one kid, the mom's kind of the one that's, responsible for things most of the time with the baby. And, you got to feed the baby. And that's just what, you do as the new mom, and everybody wants to hold the baby and it's all exciting and everything else. And then the second child is just as exciting, of course, and everything's great. But the mom has to feed the baby, or, if you're breastfeeding, you have to feed the baby. If you are doing the mom thing where you feel like you got to be in charge of everything, take care of everything. Like Cullen didn't really have a choice of when to take care of Gaines or help with Gaines, or I didn't have a choice about asking for help or feeling like I was losing my mind because I couldn't take care of both of them, because I'm like, okay, I can't, like, she was still in diapers when we had Brooks, and I was like, I can't, she just pooped. I can't change her diaper right now because I'm feeding Brooks and I actually cannot physically get up right now. So you're going to have to do that. So for us, it was more of an adjustment of learning to have to just do things when we had to do them, instead of like before Cullen could decide when he wanted to like be in charge of something with Gaines. And I could kind of more easily decide when I wanted to be like, hey, can you just watch her? But once you have two, it's more of a balancing act. Definitely there are people out there with 1 million kids, more than we have. And so I'm not even saying that 2 is like hard, but for us personally, I don't think you should ever tell somebody that like, just wait because it gets harder with this, because that's just kind of like, okay, I'm sorry, that's fine and all. But for us personally, it was hard going from 1 to 2. So that was the hardest part. Does YouTube make it easier? I would say yes and no. Yes, because it does make some flexibility for sure. We can like be flexible with our own schedules. We can kind of do things on our own time to sometimes, not always, but we can kind of like set our own schedule to some extent. But it also makes it harder at times because it's kind of a 24/7 job. Like which you have to set limits, you have to set boundaries, which is something, as we're all learning from this little series that I've been doing, I'm not great at doing, is setting boundaries and all that stuff. But it's hard to make yourself, like, you see an email come through about something that you need to answer a question about, and like, oh, this is just going to be a quick response, I'll just write back. Well, then they write back, and then you write, it turns into, even if it's like a 20-minute thing, it's still 20 minutes out of the time that you need to be doing this with your kids, or doing laundry or the dishes or whatever needs to be done. So it's hard to kind of like have to set those boundaries yourself and turn things on and off yourself. But what was the other thing I was going to say? I was going to say something else about, I don't know. I think just having to film your life, like as a mom, as a parent, as a person, as anybody, you have good days and bad days. And I think that has been one thing that's been super helpful for us with not doing every single day anymore is that when there are those days that, for one, you either decide like, hey, I'm just going to like clean the house all day, or I'm going to, like I really just need a day to blah, 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 whatever it is. You can do that. Or when there's days when like somebody's sick or like we're fighting with each other or the kids have been fighting all day or whatever it is, everybody has those days. And sometimes just don't want to have to be on. So there you go. Thanks for that question. That was a good question to get this party started. Let's see. I had a couple questions that people had asked on Instagram, and I was going to answer those because I asked for those first. So let's see. Somebody asked, there was one that I had seen. I should have screenshotted this. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? You know what? I don't know, but as long as it's not a brown one, then I'll be glad to eat it. Did y'all see that vlog? That was a while ago. The Tootsie Roll thing. Where is it? It's the one that, how do you manage life without being discouraged? F. Smith 2005 asked that on Instagram. And I think that's a really interesting question. Again, a loaded question. Okay, so here's the thing. I think this is something that part of what all of I've been dealing with lately and like kind of learning about myself and learning how to deal with things differently. And I think I've found a lot of times, obviously discouragement comes from when things don't go your way, when you have no control over them anyway. Like there's things, even like with Gaines today, something happened. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, she wanted sour cream with her dinner, and we opened the sour cream and it like had some mold in it, which this happens, right? Sour cream, like the expiration date was November 26th and it had some mold in it. And so we couldn't have sour cream, and she like got all sad and started to cry. And I was like, well, it's okay. And she's like, but I really want it. And I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. There's no way for me to kind of solve that problem for you because it's gone. So that's one type of discouragement. The other type of discouragement I feel like I deal with a lot is just because of my own self, like my inability to set boundaries and my inconsistency, which I see another super chat from Laura Schmidt. And this is kind of related too. She just said, my boundaries and limits have been pushed today. Hattie has not had a good day. Meltdowns have been all day. I'm glad you're going live. I needed this all. Thank you. I'm sorry that it's been a bad day for you. But that's kind of part of it too. Some days you just have days where somebody else is going to be in a bad mood and you can't control that. And you got to try not to let it get to you, but sometimes it's going to get to you a little bit. Your kids are going to push your boundaries, your husband, your whoever, like anybody is going to push your boundaries, and you're going to either have to stick to them or you're going to give in. And I talked a little bit about that on my Thursday video. And that is a hard thm because I'm really bad about just being like I talked about with the kids, like, okay, well, fine then. You can just do it. You can just do whatever it is you're complaining about. Or I'll just blah, 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 give in. And then I'll get really discouraged with myself, not just in that moment, but then the next time, when then they whine and complain about it again. And I'm like, dang it, no, I said no. Like, why are you asking me again about this? Why are you asking me again? Stop asking. And then they get upset and I get upset. So I don't know. I would say the main thing though, in dealing with discouragement overall, is gratitude. And this is something I think I mentioned in a video a while back, but how a lot of the books that I had started reading or listening to, reading with my eyeballs doesn't happen very often. It was listening. And a lot of talk about gratitude and like how important that is. And I thought, like okay, gratitude. Yeah, I'm thankful for a lot of things. But like being super mindful about the things that you're grateful for and trying to keep those above the stress and the chaos and the frustration. And I think the more that I will focus on, even in a bad situation, even if something didn't go the way I wanted it to, being grateful for the situation in general, like being grateful that I even have the chance to have kids that are getting on my nerves and driving me crazy. But I will say too that sometimes I get really frustrated with that mindset too, not being grateful, but the whole like, oh, well, just be glad you have this, be glad you have that. Well, that's fine. But it's also okay to feel frustrated, and it's okay to feel discouraged, and it's okay to feel disappointed and like emotional and upset and all those things. You just can't like live there forever. You got to feel those feelings and let it out, be upset about it, let yourself kind of like have a little pity party, and then get past it and realize that, especially when it's something you can't do something about, you just got to move on. And some days you're going to have days where you don't set your boundaries and where you give in and where you don't stand your ground as a parent with your limits and your rules and all those things. And you know what? You just give yourself some grace and you have to move on. I heard, actually, I've told Colin this so many times this week, and I'm like, I was listening to this one thing and I can't remember whether it was like a book or somebody's live stream or what it was. So I'm sorry, but I really actually don't remember where this was. I want to say it was something Rachel Hollis did, one of her podcasts, or maybe it was the live stream that her husband did on Friday. That was really, really good. Holy moly. It's on Facebook. They live stream every Monday through Friday, every morning at 8:00. Like, holy cannoli. I don't know if I could do that. But they live stream every morning, and it's super duper inspirational. But the one this past Friday, I think you can still find it on Facebook, was really, really good. But they were talking about, or one of the places where I was listening to something was talking about how if you screw up something, say it's like with your diet or your exercise or something, like, oh, I ate a cupcake when I first got to work this morning and now the whole day is ruined. Or, dang it, I wasn't consistent with my kid and I let him get away with this and I didn't stand my ground. Now the whole day is ruined. It doesn't have to be. And a lot of times our mindset, and I know I do the same thing, I'm like, whatever, I'll just start over tomorrow, or I'll just start over next week, or I'm going to really, the beginning of this next week, I'm really going to work hard to change these things. Well, you don't have to wait to start over. You don't have to like sit there and say, okay, well, the morning started bad, so the rest of the day is going to be terrible. And I think so many times I'll see or hear people doing that. And I mean, I'll even do it myself. Like, God, this morning was just so frustrating and blah, blah, blah. And like, well, get mad at the kids, or Cullen and I'll get mad at each other. And then it's like the whole day is ruined, but there's just really no reason to waste a whole entire day. If something screws up, you can start again. You can start over. You can reset and refresh right then if you want to. You can set yourself a limit and be like, all right, I got an hour. I got until it's 9:24 p.m. I got until 10 o'clock to be upset about this and to just like cry in my shower by myself. And then I'm going to have to move on and give yourself a time limit and say, I'm going to start over. Like, I'm starting over. And I think that is a great mindset to have, because, when you go ahead and write off the whole rest of the day or the whole rest of the week or the weekend or whatever it is, then you lose that time and you could have lived it fully and better. I feel like the more that I'm able to think about gratitude, be consistent, and not, I guess I wouldn't say like not let my limits be pushed, because they're going to be pushed and your boundaries are going to be pushed, but stick to the things that you have decided is right. It goes back to trusting yourself that the things that you've decided, the things that you've set your mind to are the way you want it to be, then stick to them. That's the best way that I've found to just like really keep myself encouraged and be able to continue on. Let's see. The Bright said, my kids were fighting about every little thing after church today. Oh, girl. Okay. Same thing. She said, I was trying to clean. My husband was cleaning up leaves. They couldn't even play a game together. I have 3. This was my 12 and 5-year-old. Okay. Seriously, the same thing tonight. And it was a very similar situation. So it was Cullen and Brittany were gone filming a thing, for Don't Tell Mom. And then Cullen came in, and I'd been like trying to unload the dishwasher for like 20 minutes. And I had gotten the top rack mostly unloaded, not even all of it put up, because everybody kept having, the kids were fighting and they needed something. Somebody needed something. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. Like, I can't get the dishwasher unloaded. Then he came in and he was trying to tell me something. We were trying to talk, and then, you know, it would be like somebody needed this or somebody needed that, or Brooks was like pulling my pants and like trying to climb up my leg. And I was like, okay, y'all, I've said 5 times, y'all go find a toy, find something to play with. We're working right now. We're trying to get some stuff done. I'm trying to clean up so I can like have room in the kitchen to cook some dinner. And I was getting so frustrated about it. And then I was like, hello, take your own advice. If y'all saw my video on Thursday, I talked about how like when you get to that point where things are just making you frustrated and like you find yourself being like, this is driving me nuts. You got it. Like, that means there needs to be something that changes. That means that you're allowing somebody to get into the space of something you're trying to do to push your boundaries. You got to set a boundary. And so I said at that time, I was like, all right, I'm not leaving this sink area again until I get the whole dishwasher unloaded. If anybody has, like, aside from somebody falling and busting their face open and like actually needing literal assistance, or like somebody pooped on the floor or something, then I'm staying right here. Like, if y'all need something, you can wait the extra 10 minutes that I can finish unloading this dishwasher. And so I stood there and got the dishwasher unloaded. I think there may have been one thing right before I got done unloading it. I don't remember what it was. Oh, Brooks needed to wash his hands for something. He had gotten something on his hands. And so I went and helped him with that. But I was like, okay, that's it. I'm like done. If you need something, you're going to have to figure it out, which has actually been real helpful, because there's a lot of independence that we've realized that we haven't given them because we've just done stuff for them. As far as some of the fighting stuff, because our kids totally do that too, and they fight over everything. And one thing that we've started doing lately, because sharing has become a little bit of a problem, is if you are fighting over it, or I'm not in the room and I don't know who had what first and whose what this is. If I hear you fighting about it and it becomes a problem, it's gone. We take it and put it up and nobody gets it. Neither of you get it. Well, I had it first. Well, I don't care. Y'all need to figure out a calm, nice way to work it out with each other, where you can talk nicely to each other and work out a plan that doesn't involve screaming and yelling and like hitting each other upside the head with a toy. So yeah, that's actually been kind of helpful in doing that. But I feel your pain on the trying to clean up and the kids are fighting and crazy. So let's see. Kendall Young said, I feel like that's me all the time, and figuring out what to change exactly is hard for me. And that is hard. It definitely is a hard thing. And I think it's something you just kind of have to experiment with, take it day by day, moment by moment. I mean, literally, this was like 30 minutes into me trying to unload the dishwasher when I finally was like, okay, I realize the reason that I'm getting frustrated right now is because I really want this dishwasher unloaded and I want to finish what I'm doing. I don't want to leave dishes all over the kitchen counter and half unloaded dishwasher. And I keep stopping for little small things that the kids could do themselves, or that they're just doing to maybe get my attention or whatever else, which yes, they need attention. They're kids. That's great. But 10 minutes, they can wait. And then I can give them some attention after that. So, luckily, like I said, Cullen had just come in, and so he started coloring with them. But when I finally was like, y'all need to find a toy to play with, because if you're not going to play with your toys, then I guess you don't really want them. So we can just like give them all away to somebody else, because y'all aren't playing with them. So why would we need them? And that always gets them to be like, oh, snap, I'm going to go play with them. Don't worry. But Gaines went and found her like some stuff to do. She got an activity and she colored this whole picture, and it's fabulous, which Cullen did sit down and color with her. But yeah, that is definitely a hard thing. Gigaloo Mountain said, how would you set a boundary with an older child trying to help the younger child? I guess it kind of depends on what exactly you're looking for there. I kind of think I know what you mean, because sometimes Gaines will try to help Brooks and it will just frustrate him. Is that what you're trying to kind of say? Usually we just kind of have to tell her like, okay, don't mess with him. Let him do it himself. I mean, sometimes we do ask her to help him. So that's kind of hard, because it's like a little bit confusing, I'm sure, when we're like, hey, help your brother with this. And then sometimes she tries to help. But sometimes I think a little bit of the trying to help too much is jealousy. So I don't know. Let me know if you're kind of thinking something different than what I'm talking about here. Um, the time change. Samantha Sammer. Can they not just keep the same time like Arizona? It makes my kids go crazy. We had to put so many toys in timeout today. Yeah, I don't know. We are like, maybe time change does affect our kids. I'm sure it probably has something to do with something, but we travel a lot and switch time zones and stuff. So when the time changes, we just kind of like switch our clocks and go about it like everything's the same. Now, I will say this afternoon is the first year Gaines has been old enough to go. We were sitting there and she had just woken up from her nap like an hour before. And she was like, "How is it dark outside already? Why is it night?" So I kind of had to explain that to her. But it does. I mean, it totally does affect people and make you tired, more tired and everything else. But it's kind of just like traveling to somewhere else is the way I try to think about it. Like, you're going to have to just adjust. And we don't try to think of it as like, oh, wow, it's really 10:30 now. So like usually I'd be asleep and usually the kids would be asleep. We try to just like embrace it and go with the whole, like, this is the time it is. This is what the clock says. We're going to just stick to that. So it's worked well for us so far. Our kids are only 2 and 4. So we'll see how that goes as the years go on. But so far, I mean, they did wake up early today. They woke up the same time they usually do to them, but it was like 6:30 instead of 7:30. So anyways, it all usually ends up evening out the more you just go by the regular schedule. So, Laura Beth Schmidt, what did she say? But I have to say, even though today has been a bad day, this week has been amazing. Hattie said all our colors today and said many new words. I know that's not that important, but having a nonverbal child that is now talking, I don't know how to see the rest of your comment. Maybe there's more. Yeah, no, that is a huge deal. That's awesome. That is definitely awesome. And those are the types of things that I'm saying, the grateful, gratitude, like the day's been stressful and awful. And literally, I'm sure as soon as she goes to bed or has already gone to bed, you're like, oh, but she did such a good job this week. So, yeah, you definitely have to just stop yourself and give yourself a little break, and get things like gratefulness in your head. Okay, Giggly Mountain clarified 4-year-old and a new baby and the 4-year-old wants to be very involved. Okay, yeah, that is hard with a brand new baby because, with Gaines and Brooks, they can kind of like, she's not going to like break him because he's not new. Yeah, that is hard. I guess I would say with that is find the things that you think, the child could be super capable of doing and helping with, even if it's something that's not done perfectly. Obviously, going and getting a diaper is helpful. If you can have the patience to allow the 4-year-old, like, okay, your job's going to be to put on the baby's socks when I ask you to, or like when you're dressing the baby, or whatever article of, obviously not a shirt because those are a little stressful. Socks are kind of hard too. All little putting stuff on new babies is hard, but pick a little thing like that. Or maybe it's that the 4-year-old gets to help with, I don't know. I know Gaines always liked to help with like turning on Brooks's white noise, and she would help shut the door. And I mean, because she was not even 2 yet when he was born. So it was little things like that, which a 4-year-old is old enough to do some of those other things, but maybe some things that don't involve actually like touching the baby, if that's something that's stressing you out, is trying to be over involved. Maybe if it's even like sorting the baby's clothes when you wash them so that your 4-year-old feels like involved in the actual stuff that deals with the baby. If there's bottles or well, I guess not toys if it's a brand new baby, but there's just those kind of things, like maybe kind of choosing some of those things. And I would say too, if it still continues to be a problem, maybe just setting, if you do need to set a boundary of some sort, like let's make a rule that we don't put our hands near the baby's face, or you don't pick up the baby, and want you to be involved, and that's great. And you can, instead of, you want to tickle the baby's neck or like touch the baby's face, well, let's only touch the baby's feet or baby's legs or wherever, kind of, does that make sense? Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. Okay, this is a very hard question, and like the question of all time that every parent with a strong-willed child wants to know. Catherine Clopton said, "You fixed something." Her toddler reminds her of Brooks. Any tips on how to discipline but not break a strong-willed child? That is a hard, hard thing to do. And I know the struggle because I would say, I mean, both of our children are strong willed in different ways. Like they're super different, but they both are like, I know what I want. I'm going to do it. And yeah, it's an interesting situation. Um, that's hard. And there's lots of books on that. Let me just drag you to some books. For real though, there's some really great books on, if you search Parenting the Strong-Willed Child, there's one by, James Dobson is the one that my mom said she read when I was younger because I don't know where my kids get their strong-willedness from, but I was certainly not that way. Just kidding. I was like a super strong-willed child. But there's also one by, oh man, I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think it may be Russell Barkley is somebody that wrote one that I have read before. And I'm probably like totally getting the name wrong now because it's been a while, but it's a really great book. There's several books out there like that. There's one that's called 1, 2, 3 Magic that I haven't read, but I know when I was doing work as a child psychologist and working with parents a lot on the regular basis, it was one that was recommended a lot by other psychologists that I worked with too. So, yeah, I guess I'm even like afraid to give an answer to that because I feel like I fail at that every day, to be honest. But seriously though, the main thing right now with both of our kids, and I kick myself every day because I'm not as consistent as I should be, but it's being consistent. It's when you say, this is what's going to happen, that this is the way it's going to be. We also do a lot of trying to let them have choices in small things so that they don't feel like we're always just telling them what to do. And I mean, down to the smallest things, like Gaines has like a sparkly pair of tennis shoes and a regular pair of tennis shoes. And like when it's time to go to school, I'll be like, which pair of shoes do you want to wear? Or I will like pick out a couple things. And I mean, I don't care if she dresses herself for the most part, but she still kind of picks some random stuff. But I'll say like, would you rather wear these pants or these pants? Or if we're doing, to avoid the whole drama, they know that sometimes they just get whatever cup I give them. Sometimes I'm like, do you want this one or this one? Do you want water or milk? Or do you, just anytime I feel like there's an opportunity to give them a choice, I will let them do that. A lot of times we do that too, instead of when Brooks is one that's more likely to put up a fight of like, hey, it's time to eat dinner. No, I don't want to eat dinner. And I will say, do you want to come sit in your chair or do you need to go to the bathroom first? And like, literally he'll forget that he said no and he'll say he needs to do, X, Y, Z first. Or I'll distract him with like hey, okay, yeah, it actually is time to eat dinner. Which bowl do you want? Oh, come help me put it on the table. So like distraction, redirection. Now, that does not always work, I know. But that's what usually my first line of reaction is to just be like, let's see if we can redirect this in a way that's related to what I just asked you to do. And it's not that you're getting away with saying, no, I don't want to, but it's kind of a way of me. I'm like, yes, it is time to go eat dinner. Would you like this bowl or this bowl? Come help me pick it out and put it on the table. So then I'm telling him like, it's not okay that you're not listening and following directions, but we're going to like make this a little bit of a different way that we're going to get you to where you need to be. I also am a huge proponent of like warning them ahead of time about things, preparing them for stuff, even down to like when we're ready to leave the park or when we're ready to leave wherever we are. I'm always like, hey guys, we got 5 minutes. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Okay, we're leaving in 2 minutes. And I set the timer on my phone all the time. Like you can do the little swipe down thing where it pops up and then here's the timer right there. And you just click it and it pops up and you can set it for however long, which it's set for it's actually set for 2 seconds, but it was set for 2 minutes. And they know the timer and they like respect that timer, I think, more than they respect us. But no, I think the good thing about the timer is kids know when you're like, oh, you got 1 minute. And then 5 seconds later, you're like, hey, time to go. They catch on to that you're not being real with them, you know? So when you set a timer, they're like, okay, she said this long and it actually is that long. And the more we've been consistent with that, the more they're like, okay. And even it's gotten to where like, you know, the timer goes off and there's a little stop button. And so I'm like, okay, the timer's going off. You get to push the button and then we're going. And so they think it's cool. They get to push the button, you know? So that is super, super helpful. Love the timer, love warning them, preparing them ahead for like things like that, like leaving or even with dinner. I'll be like, hey guys, I'm getting dinner ready. It's going to be soon, you know, like kind of letting them know. So it's not just out of the blue. Cause I would hate it too. If I'm like in the middle of doing something, have no idea we're about to transition to something else. And then all of a sudden somebody comes at me with like, it's time to leave right now. I'd be like, what? I didn't know. I need to mentally prepare myself for that. But also like going into situations, going into, if it's something, you know, even the grocery store, sometimes I'm like, all right, we're going in the grocery store. We don't have long. We're going to go and we're going to sit in the buggy. I think we did a video on this one time and talked about like, you know, not begging for things, not interrupting, not yelling. But we try to use the positive spin on that too. Like we're going to use our inside voice. We're going to stay in the buggy, you know, all those types of things. So that kind of is where we are now. Let me look for a couple of things on Instagram to answer some of you guys' questions there. Let's see. Any future babies in our future? I don't know. As of right now, like not right now. No. Stay tuned. But I don't know. I think we're pretty happy with our 2 kids right now. Let's see. Okay. I saw this question on here too. Somebody asked this on Instagram and on here. How do you and Cullen balance the good cop, bad cop roles? Okay, I kind of wanted a little explanation on this because I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I think you mean like somebody, the one who always is like getting the kids in trouble or disciplining the kids, and then sometimes the one who's not. I don't know. Clarify for me if you're still in here listening to this, what you mean by that. Let's see. There was another one that I saw. There's a lot about whether we're going to have more kids or not. So y'all just go ahead. If anybody asks that, y'all can just feel free to tell them, no, not right now. Let's see. Okay, Allie Smith. I think I saw this one on here too. How did you get past the anxieties of being pregnant? I'm 36 weeks pregnant with my first baby girl. I don't know how you see the rest of it. I don't know how to see the rest of the questions. Okay. You're getting so close. Congratulations. That's awesome. But the anxiety was so hard for me after having 2 miscarriages and then being pregnant again. It was hard. And I guess the thing I had to do at a certain point was just realize when I was doing the best I could, I was doing all I could to keep myself healthy and the baby healthy, that there were some things that I just had to kind of try to not worry about, which I know is easier said than done. But I had a friend one time tell me, and this was not related to being pregnant, it was related to something else. But she said, don't spend so much time worrying about everything so much that you miss all the little joys and surprises and like fun things that God has planned for you while you're going through the experience, if that makes sense. So I feel like some of the time I looked back and wished I hadn't been as anxious or hadn't like just been so stressed out and have been able to just like chill out and enjoy it. So I would say that that's some advice that was super helpful for me at the time too. Okay, let's see. Kendall Young says setting the timer using Alexa has been amazing. That is awesome. I'm so glad. Okay. She said, yes. How do you balance whose turn it is to discipline the kids? I would just say that it's kind of whoever's in the situation. I don't know. I would just say that it's whoever's in the situation because we try to discipline in the moment when something happens. If we're both with them, it's just really like who says it first. I guess I'm probably the one that's more likely to be like, okay, seriously, you need to go timeout now. Like there's times I'll tell Cullen like, okay, send her to timeout because you've told her 5 times and she hasn't done it, or, you know, whatever the situation is, or she just hit Brooks or Brooks just hit her. So I don't know. I think we try to do it whoever is there in the situation and is relevant to the situation. And sometimes that balances out and sometimes it doesn't. I'm the one I feel like most of the time who tends to be, I don't know if I would say strict or if I would just say like, I try to be more consistent. Colin's a little more of a softie. He has a little bit of more of a soft spot in his art, I guess. I mean, I do too. I don't want to sound like I'm a horrible person, but I don't know. He'll let him get away with a little bit more than I will sometimes. So I don't know. We usually just try to do it kind of based on who is there in the moment. Who is more patient with the kids? Amber Dunn said. Oh, that's a hard question. It depends on the day. Today, there were times I feel like we flip flop everything. Like there were times today when I was like, okay, you need to calm down, Colin, because it's going to be fun. And then there were times when he was like, why are you getting so stressed out? So I think we try to balance each other out, but it really depends on the day. I don't even want to say for sure, but I don't know. I don't know. It's, yeah. That was a great answer, huh? Okay, let's see. Oh no, To the Moon said, please send me some love. I just found out after maternity leave, I won't have a job to go back to because my company is closing out. Goodness, that is terrible. I'm so sorry. I hate to hear that. I don't even know what you can do about that. Because I was about to say, when you said you wouldn't have a job to go back to, I was like, oh, they can't do that while you're on maternity leave. But if the company's closing, I guess there's not really much you can do. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's see. Colleen Tyler said, do you guys do timeout? If so, how do you make it successful? Or what else do you do when they act out badly? We do timeout, for sure. Brooks has known how to sit in timeout since he was about 1. Like when he turned 1, I'm pretty sure it was not long after his 12-month birthday. Because he's a little bit more of a tester of limits. And so we just kind of had to be like, I don't know what else to do with you. But we do 1 minute of time for each year of age. So every birthday, I'm like, oh, here we go. I get to move up to another minute in timeout. But it's successful sometimes. Sometimes I feel like it's not. But I feel like the most important part of timeout is after the timeout is over, talking to them and not just saying like, okay, you're out of timeout, go tell whoever you're sorry, or don't ever do it again. But a little bit, and we've started doing it with Brooks because he understands better now, but definitely with Gaines, why are you in timeout? Have them tell us and make sure they understand why they're in timeout. And then after that, say, what could you have done differently to avoid that happening? Because say, for example, it's that she like snatched a toy away from Brooks that she shouldn't have, or she yelled at him for something. And I'll say, why did you do that? Well, I really wanted the toy and he had it and I wanted it. Well, what would have been a better thing for you to do in that situation? And sometimes, she would say, I don't know. And so it's like, if you find yourself doing this timeout for the same thing over and over and over again, sometimes maybe your kids just don't know a better way to handle the situation. And we, if she doesn't know, then I'll kind of like nicely tell her, you could have asked him nicely, hey, Brooks, can I play with that when you're done? Or you could have looked for a different toy and waited till he was finished. If it's something that involves like, well, he was pushing me, so I hit him. Well, the thing to do is to walk away. We always try to like talk about different solutions, different situations. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, and then after the timeout, they've served their time. So not continuing to be mad at them and harp on them and like, and do you remember 30 minutes ago you did this? Once the timeout's over, trying to give some positive attention for the very first good thing that they do. And really trying to give them the positive attention at that time. Because, if what they did to get in timeout was for an attention-seeking behavior, you want to make sure they get the attention for a positive thing once the timeout is over. So not like that right after timeout, you just immediately give the positive attention, but you can just be neutral. And then once they even do one little thing that looks like it's a good thing, then you give them the positive attention. So, okay. Whoa, this got long. Okay. we're gonna have to wrap it up. There are a lot of questions that you guys are asking. A lot of questions you guys are asking up in here. So maybe I need to do a video on this and answer some of y'all's questions on this because I know y'all have a lot of questions and I kind of have some like training in this. So I do enjoy talking about it and I could probably talk about it all day. So let's see. Have you ever had a problem with either of them biting another child? That's happened at school recently with Brooks, and I don't know. I'm working on figuring out a solution to that. I'm not sure because it does not happen at home. So don't know what's going on right there. Okay, anyways, I said I wasn't going to answer any more questions than I did. But thank you guys all so much for being here. I will be back with a video on Thursday on my channel. Not sure what I want to talk about yet, but y'all are making me want to talk about like kids and parenting stuff because that's like what I enjoy talking about. So thank you guys so much for watching and I hope y'all have a great and wonderful weekend. Thanks for chatting with me. I really love spending this time with you guys and it's been great. So I will see you guys later. Bye. And